Hi, everyone, and welcome to our session today. We are going to talk about the Rapidi MCP server. So we do want to cover this piece, and then I will show you exactly how you can use it. So I will have some examples, and then of course you can go ahead and try it yourself as soon as you have your access to the Rapidi services. So let's dive into this session here. First, we want to highlight really briefly, I would say, what MCP is, how to connect to the Rapidi MCP. It's a very easy step, but it's good to know how you actually do that. Then what you can do. Then I will show you a demo. I will show you what kind of questions I asked Claude, and then how he's actually helping me with that and making changes or doing things inside MyRapidi. Then we have questions. Of course, if you have any questions or any concerns, you can use the chat, or you can send them over after the session, or any other day. And then last but not least, we have resources. So we have general resources and then like MCP specific resources. Since we have started to add more documentation around it so that you can use it and be able to see how it works and how and how everything can be set up via MCP. So let's just briefly cover this part here. So here we do want to define MCP. So we want to call it like a universal plug for AI. So this would be a standardized protocol. So you have this interface for AI models that are able to connect to any tool. In this case, Rapidi. So you can use Claude, ChatGPT, or any other AI that you use, I would say, on a daily basis. And then, of course, AI can read context from your systems and then can take actions. So, for example, you have access to a Rapidi service. Let's say you are the admin and then you want to take actions there. You can say, okay, create a transfer, create a connection, test the connection, redesign, set up a schedule, troubleshoot if necessary. So you can do so many things, and then you'll get pretty fast replies, answers from Claude or ChatGPT, and then he will be able to help with all of that. And then, of course, it's secure and control. You do grant access explicitly, so it means that the access relies on the Rapidi access that you have. So if you are an admin in Rapidi, then you get access to everything. Then if you are, I would say, a read-only user within MyRapidi, then you will have only specific access. So just being able to maybe retrieve information, but probably you will not be able to make changes or do anything on transfers, connections, and all the Rapidi areas. So that's important because it is important to highlight that you need to check your access first. So within Rapidi, what kind of access you have, and then based on that, you can see what you can do, right? Of course, when you ask Claude or ChatGPT about certain things that need to be done, he will be able to tell you which things can be done and which cannot be done, right? So that's also a confirmation that you will get throughout the process. Now, when it comes to connecting to the Rapidi MCP, in my case, I've used Claude. So, and then also ChatGPT or others have a similar system. So in Claude, you just go to connectors. So you have customized connectors, then you add connector. And then there you just give it a name. You can call it Rapidi MCP, and then you add the URL, the one that you see at the bottom. So then you will be able to authorize that connection. And what you see on the right side, that would be the actual screen. So you can see the new connector that I have created for me, and then you will see there also what kind of access it has. Of course, when you connect to the Rapidi MCP, then you have the option to set up specific things. For example, you can say that you will always allow Claude to use the MCP, or you need Claude to request your confirmation before using it. So you have different, I would say, steps that can be performed if you need to. I will show you in a minute how this looks like in Claude, and then everything that's listed under connectors. So this would be the part for the connection. So you just connect to it, and then you will have access to Rapidi, and you should be able to get information from your services and start, working on things that you wanted to work. Then what you can do. So of course, there are many things you can do. If you are not sure about certain things, like what can I do via the Rapidi MCP, you can also ask the AI itself. You can say, okay, what can you do for me? So then he will be able to list all the skills that he has. So he will be able to say, okay, I can troubleshoot, I can create transfers, I can create connections, so I can do this. And then you will be able to know how far you can go with the Rapidi MCP. There are many skills available, so you can definitely use them. And they cover, I believe, most of the areas within MyRapidi. So you will be able to create connection, update connections, create transfers, and then you can definitely ask him to troubleshoot for you. So look at error messages and give you ideas on how to solve them. So it's a pretty much, I would say, a full cycle here. And then here I've added some examples. So you can set up some prompts and say, okay, I want to set up a filter on this specific transfer, can you help with that, right? So that's one example where you can ask Claude or ChatGPT or other to do that for you. And then you can go into MyRapidi and check that specific update. Then connections, you can say, okay, can you set up a new connection for me? And then Claude will, or ChatGPT will start asking for additional information, right? When it comes to connections, he will ask for specific information. So then you'll have this conversation, and then you'll have that set up. And then errors. For example, you can say, okay, I have my schedules running. Are there any errors? If there are, okay, just retrieve the error messages and tell me how to fix them. So these are just some examples that you can use. And then the AI will be able to retrieve the information from Rapidi, take a look at the error messages, for example, and then give you, I would say, a proper answer. And then, of course, he will try to help you with that part. So that's more like the introduction when it comes to MCP in general. And now I do want to go to this part because I think it's definitely more important. So this is Claude, right? And then you'll go to your specific user. So you go to settings, and then here you have connectors. So they have customized here. And then here, this is the part where you would see everything. So this would be the Rapidi MCP. So you just add the name in the URL, and then you'll see the tool permissions here. And then here, when you look at the tool permissions, you have the option to say always allow, or you can say needs approval, or maybe block it if you need to. So this is everything that you would see here as being set up. If you want to disconnect from it, you just click on disconnect. But other than that, this is the only thing that you need in order to connect to the Rapidi MCP. Of course, like I said before, it's really important to know the type of access that you have within MyRapidi, right? Because if you are an admin, then you get everything. If you're not, and you have just, I would say, specific access to specific areas, then you will not be able to do everything, right? So your access is limited because this is how you have been set up within MyRapidi. So then if we were to go and start a new conversation here, then I'll say, okay, I want to, let's say, let's use the Rapidi MCP and check active schedules, for example. There are errors, then feedback. Let's use service 1362 for this. This would be my service, the one that I have, so that we can do that. Of course, if you have access to multiple services, it's good to specify which service you want to use, because then Claude or ChatGPT can go straight to that specific service. So then, yeah, it's definitely easier, and it takes less time to get, I would say, an answer from Claude or ChatGPT. Okay, so then Claude, he has used Rapidi MCP, right? So he loaded everything. So now he's gathering all the information, and then he will give me here everything that I need, right? So this is everything that I have on my service. And then of course, you'll see here, I have total schedules. I have 20, one with error, and then of course the other ones have been stopped. And then he will be gathering everything here and then help with what I've asked initially. All right, so in this case, then he read all the information about the active schedule that I have. So then I say, okay, the one that has an error is this one, which is my schedule, the one I have on my service. So he has added more information about it. For example, which is the connection, the error handling, and when it's supposed to run next. And then he will try to point you into the right direction. Say, okay, maybe this is misconfigured, maybe something is happening here, and all that. Can say, can you retrieve the actual error message? See, so we have this. Let's see if he's adding the actual error message that I have for that specific schedule. Okay, so then here, then I'm getting I'm seeing the error message. So then the causes for this. So you see, it's like a full assessment of the actual issue. So it gives you the error message, and then it gives you like statistics about the, how many times you ran and what the issue is, and then fixing. How do you fix this? So then it will give you some recommendations or some ideas on how to take care of that. So this is something that I think it's really useful, because then it does try to look at possible causes, because sometimes there might be different causes. There's not like just a straight answer. So then you can go through the causes that he has identified and then try to troubleshoot. And of course, then he can continue the conversation and try to run the schedule as soon as you have implemented the fix, or maybe perform specific checks on that service. And then we can do one thing. I'll say, okay, I'm good with this. I will take a look at it later. Now, let's just create a transfer. Customer update transfer, where the source is data 001, and the destination would be, I will see what I have as connections here, would be Salesforce. So we just add this one. So now I just want this, like the minimum information that you can provide him with, and see what he actually provides, right? So then, of course, sometimes you do need to provide some information beforehand. So then he will say, okay, what do I need to use? So let's use this one, and then this one, just update. And we can have that. And then we'll wait for him to set up the transfer. Okay. So he has created a transfer. So now we have this transfer code. So I'm going into my service and then try to find it. Okay, let's share this one here. Okay, let's see. Okay, so then we have field mapping at, okay, so now what I want is to say, okay, so the transfer has been created, but it's just the general information. please add fields to the field mappings. Okay, so now we just want to make sure that he's adding fields to that. We want to map, let's say this one, and that's it. No, just the standard fields, so we can use that. Should be able to create a transfer, and then of course you can ask him to add more fields if you need to. But again, he's able to do all of that and create a transfer and adding the source, the destination. Okay, so then he'll give you this confirmation, but obviously you do need to go into Rapidi and check and make sure that everything is correct. And then okay, and then of course, if there are anything that need to be highlighted, he will add those here. For example, the email field. So he'll say, okay, I did this. So then you can make changes accordingly. Yes, let's say add the table link. Let's say how he adds that. Okay, so then he say, okay, what should I use? Which is a very good question, I would say. So it would be the number and then the account number. So when he's building the transfer, he has access to all the sources and destinations that you have on your service. So it means that it can also read the fields that you have. So let's see if this one has been created. Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, so this is the other one. So this is the transfer that he has created. So he added the table link and then he added the field that I needed, right? So he did that immediately. And then of course, in the general section, he added the source and destination. All transfers by default are not enabled because, of course, it's important to make changes or add more to it before enabling it. But so far, he was able to do the minimum at least. So if you want to add more fields to it, then he can build that. For example, if there are fields that are like a good match between source and destination, he will be able to do that. Add those, and then you just need to make specific changes. You don't need to start from scratch. You don't need to build everything and add every single field. So that's the thing, that's the great thing about it, I would say. So then if we go here, for example, and we say, okay, I am good with this part. Now let's create a copy of the connection 001. So for example, I have a BC connection and I want to create another one. Maybe because I have different legal entities in my ERP environment. So if I have 5 legal entities, I do want to copy the main connection and be able to use it for the other ones. Let's see. Okay, so he has all the information here. Let's see if his... Okay, so let me see. So he needs a specific connection code. So I can say, let's use same company. You can say, okay, I want to call it 004. Okay, so that will be the connection, and then he will be able to create it with the same information. And then, of course, you can go into Rapidi and copy that and make changes and update the description for it. Okay, so I have the connection set up correctly. So this is all the information. Of course, he will say that the password secret is blank, so that's not something that's being shared here anyway. So it will need to be added by the service user. So that's really important because that's something that has to be updated by the ones that have access to the actual service, right? So then if we were to go to my connections list here, see, I'll share this page here. So this would be my connection. So this is the one that he copied over. So he already added all the information. I just need to make changes if I want to. So it's really easy. And then you can actually copy this connection and then use it for many other legal entities. And of course, you can also ask him to create a connection from scratch, but you will need to provide him with specific information. He will need to know which is the endpoint for it, and what exactly you want to add in here. He does have all the knowledge when it comes to this type of connection, but you do need to provide the specific legal entity endpoints and additional information. So he was able to do that, which means that now I have this new connection, which I can use and then start setting up transfers. So it's definitely, I would say, a lifesaver in that sense, because then you just give him instructions and then he will be able to do everything that's needed, right? And then of course, if you need him to test transfers, he can also do that, make changes, add filters, for example. He can do all of that, and I think that's really great. And it gives you, it gives you the possibility to have everything done in a shorter amount of time, I would say. So that was it for this part. If you have any questions, please reach out. I just showed you a few examples and how everything works, but you can also test it. You can go ahead and connect to the Rapidi MCP from Claude, ChatGPT, so whatever you're using, and then try to test it and see how it works and see what it can do, and how things are going. So far, I think the process is pretty smooth, and it does do everything that you ask. And then I think the good part is that it has a lot of knowledge around Rapidi, and it has all those skills that are being applied whenever you ask for a specific thing. So it knows everything about transfers, about connections, how to set them up. So that's a clear advantage when you are using the Rapidi MCP. Now, this is just a complete schedule, I would say, for our season. And this is actually the last session from this season. I do hope that you will be using the Rapidi MCP and try to test and try to play a bit with that and see how it goes. And of course, if you have any feedback or want to share anything, use this form, and then we will get your answers. Of course, again, if you have ideas about specific content, or if you want us to cover something very specific, you can use this form and let us know. We would be happy to go through that and then prepare something specific. Then we have resources. So here we have the general resources. Some of you might already know them. So we have our documentation. Here we are adding more documentation with regards to Albert, with regards to the Rapidi MCP, just because we want to give you everything that you need so that you use them properly. And then we have and then, of course, we have support, or also you can submit a case via MyRapidi. Subscribe to product updates if you haven't already. And then we have the release notes. The release notes where you see everything that we have released and what's included in each release, which is quite interesting because it gives you a good overview of what we have done so far. And then resources specific for the session, so Rapidi MCP, how you connect to it, and then the functions that you can perform. So specific functions with regards to connections, transfers, schedules, logs, RTIs, and so on and so forth. So you can take a look at those and you'll see what it can do and how it can perform within MyRapidi. So I think that was it for today's session. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions or you need any help with the Rapidi MCP, please reach out because we would be more than happy to help. And that's a wrap. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week. And as I said, if you have any feedback or if you want to reach out about specific topics, please do that, because we really like to get feedback from our customers, and we really want to understand if there are things that you need, or maybe if there are things that you need help with, right? So make sure to do that. In the meantime, this is the last session that we have for our season. We will see what we want to plan next. And I think that will be it. Thank you, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.